Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I like to discuss how the board is set for a pressured August regarding the Northern Ireland Protocol. Boris Johnson seems to be pursuing an aim regarding the Northern Ireland Protocol which is not politically or legally possible. But the longer this drags on, the more the Northern Irish supply chain aligns itself with the rest of Ireland and away from Britain, and businesses are demanding a resolution before the end of August. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So on the face of it, this is the sort of thing that can keep dragging on for years. Indeed, it already has done, hasn't it? Boris Johnson had this insane world view that you can just remove border checks for standards between two different markets where the standards are different, or customs checks between different customs areas. He now claims that the only reason he signed the withdrawal agreement was because he did so under duress. But what form did this duress take? Did Leo Varadkar hold a gun to his head? No, the duress was because he thought the EU would accept his completely unresearched economic and political vision, and they wouldn't. On the other hand, Parliament wouldn't allow him to leave the EU without a deal. So he was caught between a rock and a hard place. His political career was about to be over, had only just begun. He was going to go down in history as the shortest serving Prime Minister in our long history. This was not the entry that Johnson wanted in the history books. So he signed the withdrawal agreement that was on offer and that was acceptable to Parliament, with the intention, it is now clear, to negotiate it again properly when he had more time. This is what he's doing now. He thinks he can just negotiate the deal again without the duress, as he puts it, that existed in 2019. But again, here he fails to understand the basics. The first basic he failed to understand is that inside the EU, other EU member states bent over backwards for us because we were EU members and we had a certain amount of influence and we could have made things very difficult for the rest of the EU. That gave us a certain level of influence that once we'd left the EU completely evaporated. The other thing is that the deal has been struck now. It's there, it's written, it's signed into law. The EU don't have to renegotiate it unless they want to. And they will not want to without two assurances. One, that it is going to be a better deal for them than the one they currently have. But this is not what Boris Johnson is proposing. And secondly, that we will not send unmitigated boneheads to do the negotiating this time. Again, zero prospect of this. Boneheads are the only people Johnson can work with. The only way we're negotiating the Northern Ireland Protocol away is by rejoining the customs union single market. And that won't actually abolish the protocol, legally speaking, it will still be there. But none of the provisions would then apply, so it won't exist from a practical point of view. But that's for the future. Boris Johnson is neither willing nor able to pursue further alignment with the EU. He became Prime Minister on the promise of the hard Brexit. Alignment cannot come until not only Johnson, but the people who have control of Johnson in the Conservative Party are removed from any sort of influence. In the meantime, Boris Johnson and David Frost are pursuing the removal of trade barriers between Britain and Northern Ireland without actually agreeing any common standards with the EU. The practical upshot of their stated aim is to have Northern Ireland as a sort of Wild West of trade in Europe. Naturally, this would create a huge hole in the EU's single market. If the proposals from the UK government were to be adopted, there would be nothing to stop goods passing from Northern Ireland to the Republic of Ireland, which is the case now with the protocol. But in addition, there would be no control over goods passing from Britain to Northern Ireland. That would effectively mean that substandard goods could pass from Britain to the EU without any checks at all, without any records. Obviously, this is not going to be acceptable to the EU or their trading partners. In addition, David Frost suggested that any disputes concerning goods in Northern Ireland should not be decided by the European Court of Justice, but by international arbitration. Now, this cannot apply because the European Court of Justice exists to decide on matters related to EU law. It's what it's for. And that includes, of course, single market standards. It would be like someone in this country finding themselves in court for a breach of British law and saying, I'd like to be tried by an Italian court, please. No. So what's the government, what is it that they want? They're not going to get this. I don't know if they'll get anything. You know, are they just playing this line to try and get something else? But the EU surely have to understand at some point that these bandits will just demand more and more and more, and will never actually knuckle down and implement the protocol, no matter how flexible the EU are. Boris Johnson wants a no-deal Brexit, or at the very least that's what his backers want and wanted in the first place. They just couldn't get it through Parliament, so now they're trying to create it after the fact. And you could look at this as more of the same can kicking. The government will keep insisting that all of these checks are unnecessary and the EU are just being mean. The EU will continue to insist that they are a result of non-alignment, which is true, and keep up legal action against the UK for breaching the treaty, which will take goodness knows how long. But businesses in Northern Ireland have already been sourcing more goods from the Republic of Ireland, switching away from former suppliers in Britain. This is the time pressure that David Frost and Boris Johnson are up against. David Frost actually described this as unfortunate, this switching of supply lines. Worth remembering at this point that Boris Johnson claimed that the Northern Ireland Protocol represented the best of both worlds for Northern Ireland. Brilliant deal, he said. Amazing, you get the best of both worlds. It kept them in the single market, sort of, while still being part of an independent UK. So why can't we get this best of both worlds deal, a lot of us asked, especially in Scotland, whose government have been well up for a deal like this. And this is a political problem for the government. At the start of Brexit, there were problems with food supplies to Northern Ireland. But like I say, supply chains adapted. Now we have food shortages in Britain, thanks to the Brexit fuel lack of lorry drivers, but tales of empty shelves in the supermarkets are not being told in Northern Ireland anymore. I noticed this. Northern Ireland trade is actually managing rather better than British trade, in fact. Inevitably, the Scottish Government will start to make more of this fact after summer. In fact, in Westminster, I would fully expect Ian Blackford of the SNP to start hammering on about how Northern Ireland, which voted against Brexit, got a deal that allowed it to manage post-Brexit trade in goods. So why shouldn't Scotland, who also voted against it? Why shouldn't they get the same arrangement? After all, if it's good enough for one part of the UK, why not another? Because for all the talk of problems caused by the protocol for that Britain to Northern Ireland trade, it's not actually a problem for trade in Northern Ireland. Northern Irish businesses can trade freely with both Britain and the EU, at least in terms of exports. No issues at all there. They can sell to whomever they like. Easy. They can also import from the EU easily. The only thing the protocol stops them doing easily is importing certain goods from Britain. But Britain is a way smaller market than the EU, so this actually isn't hurting the economy of Northern Ireland. Unlike for Britain, Northern Irish trade has been managing fine since Brexit. A 60% increase in goods exported from Northern Ireland to the Republic of Ireland, which is replacing the trade that used to pass from Britain to the Republic. There was also a 40% increase in Northern Irish imports from the Republic, again replacing the now more difficult imports from Britain. It's Britain that's losing out here, not Northern Ireland. Because that's the thing. In Britain, we erected huge trade barriers with our nearest market. But for us, there was no other route to take for trading. No real path of lower resistance, or not a good one. Some exporters have been forced to sell more to the other side of the world. And the government laud this. Oh, look, they're selling more to these countries at the other side of the world. Yeah, but they're having to pay more for transport costs. And they're having to sell it for less as well, due to these trade barriers. It is now the point they can make more money by paying extra transport costs and selling for less to the other side of the world than just across the channel to the continent, where they used to make more money. But Northern Ireland found itself with more difficulty importing from one close neighbour, so just traded more with an even closer neighbour. Same island, you see, where no trade barriers were created at all. And the thing about lost custom, you don't get it back just because the problems go away. Businesses in Northern Ireland have been switching suppliers. If the trade barriers between Britain and Northern Ireland just suddenly went away, which they won't, but if they did, then they're not just going to switch back unless there's a good reason for doing so. You know, if it means they can then import those goods for less from Britain. Yeah, okay. Or if it's better quality for the same price. Okay. But otherwise, no, they'll just carry on with their supplier in the Republic of Ireland or wherever. And the longer this goes on, the more businesses in Northern Ireland will just source their supplies from the EU. Whether that be from the Republic of Ireland or just via the Republic of Ireland. This is what the government are afraid of. That the problem becomes less about the checks that they signed up to in the withdrawal agreement and more that the checks become increasingly irrelevant as trade from Britain to Northern Ireland dries up. And with businesses reportedly telling the government that they need to sort something out by the end of next month, the implication there is that many more businesses in Northern Ireland are going to abandon those British imports if that doesn't happen, that they've run out of patience. So there is a time pressure, but one that is entirely on Boris Johnson and David Frost and the Northern Irish Unionists, I suppose. Good job they are led by intelligent, rational people with a firm grasp of reality, or we may be in real trouble. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.